Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Hi guys, it's Bianca again. As promised, here is my new video. As you can see, it is another mushroom witch, and this is the third one. I skipped over doing the little old lady in favor of doing this one just because I wanted to see how she would look. I thought that she fit the character of Lucy's story a lot better. And yeah, so here, as you can see, I'd already done a bit of a wash in the background behind her to get started off camera, just to save a bit of time, because it's a good thing I did that too, because my camera was extremely difficult yesterday. It was, I had it basically set up on a selfie stick above my desk, but it could only film from the selfie stick in landscape style. So I'm sorry about that. It's not in portrait, which I find very annoying. I hope that it doesn't bother you as much as it bothers me, but I will try next time to try and do it from a portrait style instead. So I'll figure out a way to set it up so that it works better. But another problem that happened in this process, which I figured out now in the process of doing these trees, is that it would cut out after 30 minutes, not because there wasn't enough space on my phone, but because the phone just didn't have the capacity to record more than 30 minutes at a time. And it was a nasty surprise to find out that it had cut out before I had finished doing the background of the trees. Luckily, you don't miss that much. It's just the very last layer of, dark shading in the trees, but you'll see the finished product when I start recording again, when I start actually working on the witch. So it's not that, big of a train smash, because you kind of get the idea of what I'm doing with this negative painting here anyway. It's just light to dark, doing the outline of the trees, not doing the interior of the trees, and then progressively getting darker with each layer of paint. I'd found many tutorials on YouTube on how to do negative painting, and there was actually one that was really great, but when I tried her method, I can't remember her name now, I should have written it down, but I tried her method and it just didn't work for me as well. It just was too washed out. It didn't give, that rich, dark effect of a deep forest. So I decided to try my own method, which is this one, where you just paint all the way across, in between the gaps in the trees. You don't blend them out. And then eventually you get that nice, deep, dark woods feeling. So, it might work for you guys. You might prefer the other methods that are out there. Whatever works for you. But this is how I did mine. And I was very happy with the end result of how it looked. I'm very happy with the woods and all of my character sketches, which is important because the background is actually a major part of Lucy's story, because she obviously goes into the woods. But very shortly, you're going to notice that it's going to cut out, and you're going to miss the very last parts of the woods. But basically, this is what you're going to see, is just this really rich, dark background kind of thing is going to be happening. But yeah, it was such a struggle with this camera stopping every 30 minutes, and then I tried to upload some of the files afterwards as well, in my breaks in between these 30-minute gaps. And my phone's battery was also running low, so it was a fight against that, having to charge it and wait. And oh my goodness, it was a mess. Have to find a better way of handling that. But some of the files ended up being corrupt on my computer, even though they worked fine on my phone, so I had to re-upload them, and that was a pain. And that's why I didn't finish last night with the video, because it just took so many hours just to get everything up that I was just too tired by the end. So I just said, no, I can't do anymore. I'm done. And so I just uploaded everything into my editor and left it there, and decided I would do the voiceover and the final editing today. So here I am now, starting on the Mushroom Witch herself. And this was something where it was kind of something that happened doing the blonde on her. It didn't work for me. Eventually I ended up changing her hair color. But I chose blonde kind of, in the blink of an eye, just because it had just happened after the camera had cut out, and I was very frustrated and irritated, wondering now what's happening with my recording gear. I had just gotten a nice microphone that works really well, and now my phone doesn't want to record properly anymore. So I was kind of flustered, I guess you could say. So blonde was sort of just a knee-jerk reaction to that, and then I realized it doesn't work for her because she's this nature lover and she lives out in the woods and she picks mushrooms, which is where she gets the name the Mushroom Witch from. She even has a little basket there, and she has one of the cantaloupe mushrooms in her hand. So I already knew that her clothes were going to be earth tones, very natural, neutral colors, like this poncho. I love the brown from this poncho. It's from my Russian palette, which the colors on the palette are not like what you would see from Winston Newton, name-wise, because they've most likely been translated from Russian into English. Somebody pasted a little list inside the palette, obviously which have been translated, and the names are nothing like what I've seen from Winston Newton, so I couldn't tell you what the actual brown is for this, but I love these for both the hat and the poncho. I only bought the whole palette for €1, so I can't complain, and it works fabulous. It's quite a large palette, but I'm just panicking because what happens when the colors start running out, because I don't know the real names. And I've gotten used to these, so I'd like to keep working with these. So I guess I kind of have to start buying a new palette that is easily replenishable, that I can start experimenting to see which colors are close, so that when this old faithful Russian one runs out, I do have replacements available. So yeah, with this whole process of doing the witch, this style of painting is actually kind of something that I learned recently, because when I had taken art classes in high school, we were taught that watercolors by nature should be very loose and airy and, washed out and so on and so forth, because that is the nature of the medium. That's what gets its name from as well, because you also use water with it. And then I was never very good at that, and I hated watercolors. I loved them because of how they could look, but I could never manage them myself, and so it was a love-hate relationship. And then recently, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 3 or 4, I came across one of Anita Gatsinska's videos, and was actually in the process of looking up how to paint rain, or to get the rain effect in watercolor. And I came across one of her paintings of a fox sitting amongst hydrangeas, and she did her watercolors in this kind of flat wash method. And I thought, wow, that actually looks really nice. It looks like children's book illustrations. And I thought, are you allowed to do that with watercolors? And I started to experiment, and I actually used it, and I thought, wow, this is great. It works, And I decided, if I wanted to go back to the flat, to the washed out look of normal watercolors, I always had that option. But I preferred this, flat wash, children's illustration style stuff. Now I'm sorry here again, because it is landscape, sometimes I don't realize when I'm going out of shot, especially with her feet. So I'm painting away on the shoes and stuff, and I don't realize that the camera isn't focused on it, so I do apologize. Again, I will fix the position of the camera in my next video. But yeah, so it happens a few times, and it's annoying, but we're just gonna have to live with it for this video. But anyway, yeah, like I said, so this style of painting with the flat washes actually came from Anita. And I love it, and I've been, using it quite frequently since then. So, and actually, it worked so much better for my stories as well. I paint mice as well. And with them, I tend to leave some white gaps and stuff in the fur and build the washes more than doing flat layers like I do with these. And that works better for them. So I have different styles for different characters for, different purposes. And yeah, I don't know. I guess diversity is always good for any artist. But with this one, actually, I was a bit nervous just because I loved the way that the sketch came out in my sketchbook. It was like a stroke of genius round about midnight a few days ago. And I thought, oh, now I've got her. I've got her nailed. But usually when that happens, when I love the drawing, the painting doesn't work out. But I was lucky enough that this time, actually, I'm fairly satisfied with how she came out. And, you know, that's not always the case. And I'm busy deciding now if I prefer her or the first draft. Because actually the first draft of the Mushroom Witch is kind of growing on me in a strange way. So I don't know. I guess I kind of need help. What do you guys think? Which one would be better for Lucy's story? I don't know. I really like her, though. I think she looks like a fun hippie that lives out in the woods, and that suits her purpose perfectly. But anyway, here I am working on her skin tones, doing some shading around the eyes and so on and so forth. The skin tone, I love. It's... I don't even know the name for it. It's one of those ones that's been translated from Russian, but it works perfectly for her skin tone and in every way. And I'm going to panic when I run out of that skin tone, because then I'm going to have to find something similar. Because the problem with most watercolors is that it has that kind of artificial too bright pink, and I don't like that. And then you have to use whites or yellows to try and even it out, and that's always a pain. But this one is basically already done for me, so I need to find something similar. If you guys have suggestions, what works well for that, let me know. So here I am now busy with the Fineliners, which was another battle in itself. The Fineliners would dry out on me over certain layers of paint if they were too thick. So you'll notice that it switches between the 02 and the 03 here. But again, this is something else that I had to learn with time, is doing this hard lining of the piece, which I think it kind of came from Anita as well. But there were also some other artists on YouTube and so on and so forth that I was following that would do this, and I was like, oh, but you're not supposed to hardline a watercolor. But then when I started doing it, I really couldn't stop. So now it's basically, it's now part of everything that I do, and even in my mice and so on and so forth. So yeah, I don't know, I like the effect. It makes it more crisp and clean, you know, next to such stuff like the grainy brown of her poncho and so on and so forth. It looks really nice. It's got a unique effect. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud. But here I'm busy putting on the finishing touches, and if you guys would like to see the finished product of this Mushroom Witch, you can check her out on my Facebook page or my Instagram. And please like and share as much as you possibly can. All your support is very much welcome, so thank you guys so much for sticking with me so far, and you know, please leave comments on what you'd like to see, or your thoughts about things. I'm always interested, and yeah, I will try to do more updates on this as frequently as I can. It might get a bit more difficult though, because I have to go back to work starting next week, so it will most likely only be once a week if I'm lucky that I can get this done, especially if my camera is still going to be this difficult. But I will still try nonetheless. So let's see. I hope I won't get too overwhelmed with this. But anyway, so here we go. Here we will be looking at now the final product, the finished product of my Mushroom Witch. And I will try to do another update as soon as possible. So thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great week, and see you guys soon. Bye!